For my own kids, I've told them you can study anything you want in college, if you choose to go to college. However, you must get a minor in entrepreneurship, no matter what your field is, because owning a business is so empowering from the ability to engineer wealth.
Welcome back to the Mom's Wealth Club podcast. Today, my guest is Lisa Schwartz. Lisa's a nurse, a scientist, an entrepreneur, and founder of a clinical research consulting company. After spending over 20 years in pharmaceutical research and development, she stepped away from corporate life to build a business of her own while pursuing a deeper interest in healing, personal growth, and financial empowerment. Today, we're talking about entrepreneurship, overcoming limited beliefs around money, having the courage to pivot when life calls you in a new direction, and why building wealth is about much more than dollars and cents. Welcome, Lisa. I am so glad that you're here today.
Thank you, Lynn, so much. I'm so excited to be here today to talk to you.
This is awesome because we've talked about doing this for a while and we finally made it on the calendar, and I'm just glad you're here. I can't wait to get your story out. So why don't we start wherever you want to start? I know that we want to talk about your business, what you're doing, your life, whatever you want to share, but how did you get where you are right now?
I think that it all started with first my decision for my initial career path, which was in nursing. Just a very safe choice, a choice that at the time I felt really connected with my sort of inner nurturer and also my inner need for financial security. I had a great role model in my mother, who was a nurse, and I saw how consistent and stable and how much it kind of fulfilled her on a larger level. And so I decided that that would be the path that I would take. But once I got into nursing, real life nursing, after getting this wonderful bachelor's degree, which I paid for myself, I was all in and ready to take all the advantages of it that I could. Once I got into the real role of nursing, I realized it really didn't connect or fulfill me enough in terms of sort of what my inner soul was looking for with the practical realities of how I wanted to live, how I wanted my work schedule to be, and really what I wanted the quality of my life to look like. And so with that, I ended up making a pivot into different areas within nursing. And I was introduced to the field of clinical research through an additional role that I was working on at the University of Chicago. I became laser focused on learning about clinical research, learning about how nurses were very valuable in that domain within pharmaceuticals. It's something I had never heard of before, and I jumped in feet first.
So then that pivot, did it give you more freedom when you found this new role? Did it give you more of the things that you were looking for?
It did. I think first and foremost, and this is so basic and just like my own mindset and what I believed equaled success, was I wasn't punching a time clock anymore. For some reason, there was something about the act of having to punch a time clock, sign in and sign out of work that I felt like as a professional person, I shouldn't have to do. And I'm not saying that anybody else would feel that way. That was just my inner sort of feeling about what success looked like for me. But even larger than that, I really wanted to use my larger brain, not just the brain that was really good at organizing and completing tasks. I really wanted a job that was a thinking job that really challenged me. And I felt like getting into the science side of clinical research really checked that box for me. I really expanded my own knowledge of within the science field, really getting into the data, understanding the statistics, understanding the entire vocabulary of clinical research, it's much different than our normal vocabulary. It's even much different than the vocabulary we use in the medical fields. So the notion of this growing, this development, this learning kind of within what I was doing in my professional life was very important to me.
It is kind of a natural transition for you to move over into the entrepreneurial space. So tell me a little bit about that change coming from corporate to making this jump into the entrepreneurial world.
Well, I'd love to. So here I was in the corporate world, which is where I thought, this is it. I'm going to be this corporate person. I'm going to climb this corporate ladder. That is what looks like for me. And one of the things that I found is the further I raced up the corporate ladder, the less fulfilled I was. The busier I got, not only physically busy, but almost even mentally busy. The load of the increasing responsibility was something that I carried very heavily. And I never quite was able to sort of shake that feeling of enormous responsibility. I mean, I got to a point where I was managing a $500 million budget and 30 people and these large global programs, which was, I thought, what I wanted. But similar, as I mentioned before, I got there and I realized, where am I as a mom? Am I as a friend? Where am I as a wife? But most importantly, I felt like the professional side had taken over. It was like a runaway train off the tracks. I had, meetings with Singapore at 10 p.m. and then meetings with London at 6 a.m. And one of my major sort of epiphanies was I was racing up. I had a very long commute up to the suburbs of Chicago. And I was racing up to get to the office for a 7 a.m. meeting. I am in the car on the phone with London from a 6 a.m. meeting with a breast pump that is plugged into my cigarette lighter. I guess it was an older car at that point, and going 85 miles an hour down the Edens Expressway, thinking something has got to give. This is not sustainable. This is not how I want to live my life. And that I needed to get back in the driver's seat of my life. And I needed, most of all, autonomy. I wanted to be able to work and make money and kind of feel successful, but I also wanted to be successful as a mom. That was so important to me. And I realized that even though it felt like I was out of control, I had to remind myself I am in control and I can make a change. And I decided at that point I needed to get off the roller coaster, take a beat. I took about 18 months where I just was home with at the time, my 18-month-old daughter, who was my third and my last at the time, and just regroup, be a mom, regroup, take a beat, debrief, have a cook, I have some sanity in my life. And that's really what put me on the path to entrepreneurship. Of course, over the years in the industry, I had made many, many, many contacts, one of which was a individual who had, I guess for the lack of a better word, maybe a kind of a placement company for people who were consultants in my field. And I met him through my corporate life. He would call on me, asking me, do you need any consultants? Do you have any holes you need to fill every so often? And after about 18 months to 2 years of sort of being a mom, he reached out to me and said, hey, do you need any consultants for your work? I've got a few great ones. And I was like, actually, I've gotten off the corporate roller coaster and I'm kind of on my own right now. So, see you later. And he said, wait. Have you ever considered being a consultant? And I thought, no way. Nope, no way. It's all too fresh. There is no way I'm getting back into this. But it did, and at that time I didn't. I stayed put, and I stayed in this break that I needed, which was very valuable to me. And I said, look, keep me on your list. The next time something comes up, a baby contract, a teeny tiny little thing, maybe I'll consider it. And so about 9 months later, he reached out to me with just that. And I thought, I'll just try it. I'll just see what it is. And the contract was for something I literally had done 20 years ago, had not done it since. It was a role, a task that I was had to actually check myself for even imposter syndrome because I thought, how can someone hire me for something that I haven't done in 20 years? But I had to remind myself, you know what? These things have muscle memory. These things have, memory. And I think this is a fake it till you make it moment. And sure enough, within about a week or so of getting into this contract, it all came back to me like that. And that kind of is what got me started. That really just opened the door for me to kind of get my feet wet on what's an example of working as a consultant in the clinical research industry. And what I learned was, so after, 20 years in clinical research, of course, I've done many, 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 many different things. But when companies hire you, they hire you for a very, very specific role. For some people, it could be a QA role. For others, it's monitoring. For some others, it's teaching, it's planning meetings. It's very niche. That was an education in and of itself to understand what companies really are looking for in consultants. So after I had sort of this first consultant job where this individual kind of helped place me, I really just networked very much within that company and then within my industry, letting people know that this is what I'm doing now. And realizing I actually, because I had worked in so many different roles within pharmaceutical R&D, I actually had such a wide range of services to offer. That was the big shift for me, kind of looking at my career as a whole and the highest role that I had achieved into actually looking at, okay, wait, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. I know how to do this. And these are things I can sell. These are services that people want me for specifically. And then it was between word of mouth and my own networking, people started reaching out to me for more specific roles. And it was almost like a spider web, right? Because just like any other industry, people go from one company to another company to another company. And so before you know it, you've got people that you know at 10 different companies or people that you know at 15 different companies. And oftentimes what they're really looking for is an expert. And they're looking for someone who will just take care of it, that it's kind of a set it and forget it. And that's the consultant's role. And so really the work comes to me now. And this kind of speaks to the autonomy, is that as much as they, meaning the pharma companies, are evaluating me, am I the right fit for their, consultant need that they have? I'm evaluating them. What are they asking me to do? How defined is that role? What is that going to mean for the amount of hours that I'm going to be billing and the amount of travel I'm going to be doing and the level of our responsibility? And in terms of what I have going on in my life and what access to my own consultants that I have in that moment, will dictate whether or not I take that work or if I delegate that work. And so there's a lot that goes into it.
That's awesome. So tell me about your journey now into learning about finances. And you always made a very good living. You took that break off, but your job, your career path, your now entrepreneur journey has created income for you.
Mm-hmm.
But when we stop working or when we want more freedom out of life, we need to make sure that that money has grown for us. So tell me some of the things that you've learned in the last year, probably 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me like some things that you've learned in the last couple of years since you've been on the financial journey of investing and things like that. What's that world been like for you?
Well, I think where it started actually was as the business grew and as the demand grew within my business, I was very confident in what I was doing within that realm, within the science realm. And but the running the business side, the finances part of the business side was always something that made me very anxious. it just sort of felt like I'm missing something. What do I not know? What's going to happen? Is the IRS going to come after me? All of these things. And at the time, just sort of relying on my existing accountant and to fill in all the blanks. And the more my business grew, the more anxious I became about the finance part of it. And then also just even with the stage of life that I'm in right now too, being, on the upper end of midlife, you sort of start thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm actually going to have to think about a time where I'm not working and what does that look like? And feeling very vulnerable about not having a good handle on it and almost feeling that it wasn't for me. I kind of grew up with this. It's funny because even though I very much sought a job, a career path that was very stable financially, it didn't give me the security that I needed because I really did not understand the finances of it. I never took a business course in college because it wasn't required for my field. And I just sort of had this limiting belief that this isn't for me. I can never understand this. I can never appreciate what's going on with the vernacular. I mean, even people would talk about annuities. I'd be like, well, what's that? People talk about EFTs. What's that? I felt very vulnerable about this. And I'm like, this is something I have to force myself to get comfortable with. There was a lot of hype talk and for myself to get involved with it. And, I got involved with an investment group that involved just a lot of education around these topics and really made it okay as entrepreneurs that maybe you don't understand this, and that's okay. A lot of people don't understand it. This is a blind spot for many. And I think that was the kind of the lock in the key that unlocked it for me. Like, okay, I'm in a place where I'm not embarrassed that I don't understand this, or not that I don't understand it as much as I'm just ignorant to it. And it kind of put me, I'm a huge believer in the universe gives you what you need, it puts you in the right place. And it couldn't have worked out better in that way for me, where I learned about solo 401ks. I learned about Roth IRAs. I have made it this far in life and never had even heard of a Roth IRA. And once I learned about it, I was deeply embarrassed by that, but then empowered that, you know what, everybody's got to start somewhere. And, that little Roth that I just started 2 years ago, and I think I maybe put $8,000 in it. Now it's, in 2 years, it's $150,000 in just 2 years, and feeling empowered by that growth. Also, even just self-directed investments. For a long time, when people would talk about, oh, I'm going to invest in this, I'm going to invest in that, in my mind, it was always only like stocks. That was when I heard the word investment, that is what I understood it to be. And since then, in the last 2 years, I've learned that, oh my goodness, there is so much in the way of self-directed investments that is there for you if you know how to do it. And I really needed an education, having a tribe of women around me that are going through the same thing to help encourage and, answer the smaller questions, or how did you do it? And it's been mind-blowing how much I have allowed myself to take this knowledge in, but most importantly, act on it.
I know recently you just did your first, what we call small money movement, where you invested in a real estate deal. So when you were going through that, that was outside of your realm. When we first met, you and the other girls in our tribe didn't know much at all about real estate. So how do you feel? Are you proud of yourself for taking that first step?
So proud of myself, so beyond proud of myself, because this wasn't even on my radar screen. And what I love about this investment that I am doing, and even though it's small, it is local to me. I literally can drive by this property and I feel like just the proximity of it is wonderful. Also, I love that these are small entrepreneurs that are doing it. And one of the partners is a female. It just feels It feels so great, and I'm very excited to see the turnaround for it. And I'm very hopeful that I can do a lot more deals with them.
I love it. And I love how we can build our retirement accounts exponentially tax free. Once you get it in there correctly, a lot of people are talking about that traditional IRA. Oh, put it in pre tax. So, what you're saving money now. But if you grow your account, the exponential amount of money you can save when you can pull things out tax free. But that's for people that know what they're doing. And
Right.
most people don't.
Right. It's absolutely true. Between the real estate options, the private equity options, it's really mind-blowing how much control we really have over the growth of those accounts. And it's so important for us as we get closer to those retirement ages that we are able to access that money without paying tax, because we aren't going to be making income then. And this is even for me, this was a newer light bulb moment for me in just the last 4 or 5 years, learning this from my aging parents, how much tax they are paying on this IRA money.
Yep. And any kind of traditional savings plans that people know, when you pull it out, that's the whole thing. Well, you'll pay it at a lower tax rate. I don't want to, my lower tax rate is no tax rate.
Correct.
Fine. I'll
Correct.
pay it while I'm working because I can replenish that. But they teach it completely wrong to everybody, 99% of the population. The wealthy are the ones that know about these rules. What other private equity products have you invested in?
So I invested in the tax platform that uses AI, and this is directed immediately, this product towards entrepreneurs. I'm also, invested in the virtual product of this investment group. And then from the real estate side, I'm invested in some of the Class A syndications. And yeah, very excited to do more. Also invested in cryptocurrency. That was something that I was like, no way, no way, no how will I learn about this? Will I understand it? It's is like completely never going to happen. Well, it's happening. And I'm so excited to be dipping my toe in that pool too, because, right, I think if nothing else right now, we are living in such a world of constant change. And who knows what's around the next corner financially. And I think getting into crypto is absolutely a must. And again, in my mind, I thought I have to learn about it. I need to understand it. I need to know it up, down, on both sides. Actually, not necessarily learn about it as much as you can. But what do we know about anything? What do we know about how our sink works? Right?
Exactly.
What do we know about it? We know about it conceptually and we can do our due diligence, but at the end of the day, you have to at some point take what you know, and because every investment is a gamble, even your kitchen sink, it could go out at any time.
Well, and it's ironic that you say that because I got into crypto in 2020. So crypto was going crazy. And so just, oh my gosh, I would watch my account literally put thousands of dollars in it at a time, at a time, at a time. From going from those days to where we are now and learning how to be a custodian of my own money or having it put in different accounts, I know that there are brokerages out there that are legit brokerages that will help you grow your crypto tax free. And yeah, it's a risk just like any other investment. So, what we're talking about here is completely for entertainment value, and we're not recommending anything. But the money that you can afford to lose needs to be invested somewhere. And just stepping into this space to learn it is so important. As women, sometimes, at least as a woman myself, I always felt like I had to know more than I knew. Like I didn't want anybody to know I didn't know things because it came across as a form of weakness or whatever. And that is such crap. And that's why it's so helpful to find a group of people. We literally get in there and go, what the heck? And, help each other learn some of these programs, our different tax strategies, like doing the accountability program or doing what are some other stuff that we're doing?
We do the Augusta Rule.
Augusta Rule. Oh my gosh. I have been in real estate since the 90s and never took advantage of the Augusta Rule.
Me neither. Me neither. And it is so powerful. And, I used Claude helped me so much with the documentation for the Augusta rule because that's the deal, right? Your documentation has to be perfect. And in order to take good advantage of it, because it is fully legal. And I think, I don't know about you, but even for me, utilizing some of these tax strategies, even though they're fully legal and it's in the tax code, it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it wrong. And so I'd rather just not do it than do it wrong and then get in trouble for it. And Claude had been instrumental. I just did the Augusta rule for the first time back in May, and it was all hands on deck. I will say I dedicated literally 5 straight days to just being fully immersed in all avenues in terms of the documentation that had to be done. And in the end, it actually forced me to do some refinement of other parts of my business along the way. Like I ended up kind of revamping my logo as a result and like just doing some other things that I hadn't used before in order to make the slide decks I produce look really, professional and on board, which they were. But all of those things that really will ultimately benefit my own business in other ways, this kind of forced me to hone some of those things and add some of those things. And now that I've done it the one time, and it was like 3.5 days out of the 14 allowable that you can take each year. I'm just really excited to do it again. And I'm really excited to share at least the documentation practices that I did so that it makes it easier for other people, because talk about being proud of oneself. At the end of it, I'm looking at my file, my digital file that has, Augusta rule and then the dates and then all of the documentation, all nice and neat, all ready to go. God forbid IRS ever comes knocking. I felt such a sense of personal and professional pride at not just thinking about it, not just learning about it, but actually doing it and doing it to completion. It felt great.
I love that. And I think it's by design that they don't teach us this stuff. I don't think most CPAs understand it, or when you talk to, okay, I don't want to put a number on it, but let's say 90% of CPAs that are out there can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, that's so risky. I'll come to them and I'll say, I believe I can do this. I believe I can qualify for rep status, or I believe I can, do the Augusta rule, or I believe in these accountants, they don't know how to do it. And so they make you feel like, yeah, you're going to do something wrong. And you are, if you follow most people's advice. So you really need to get advice from somebody that's really trusted and knows how to explain it to you. And that's one thing. I do use AI for a lot of these things, but one of the things I'll say then is tell me how to do this and cite the source, and then it'll give me the IRS publication. And then I get this IRS publication and I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I'll take that and go, okay, dumb down this IRS publication. I need bullet points. And what does it mean? So you do your checks and balances, which for me helps me understand it. Can I pay a CPA that we would know now, that we're, connected to now, to just do all the stuff for me and I just do the paperwork? But that doesn't teach me anything. I can't go help other people. I can't feel confident in what I'm doing. And so learning all of this through AI, I feel like this point of time and this point of history is just so many things are coming together as the perfect storm in a really good way.
I agree. I agree. And the other thing that I've done this year that I was really excited about because it literally just arrived is I did the art investing, where I bought a limited edition piece of art that is hanging in my office and that I'm going to hold as it appreciates and donate it when the time is right, which represents a big tax savings, and it's all done through my business. And I'm so excited about this avenue because it also will lead into the, I'm going to say philanthropic, even though I'm not sure one art piece really qualifies as being philanthropic. But I've always, when you go into a hospital or a boarding school or whatever, and you see art pieces, this was donated by the Foster Family Foundation, that is going to be me here in a few years. And wow, I mean, that just seems so important and it seems so next level, not only from the tax strategy behind it and the use of your business, which, being an entrepreneur is so very powerful, but also the idea of legacy, the idea that something that I donated, that I selected, and is now in someplace important that other people are getting a chance to enjoy. The art piece that I invested in is of Artemis 2, which is, the big rocket that just had its mission around the dark side of the moon. And I am such a space geek. Talk about a full circle moment. Back when I was a little girl, second or third grade, I was convinced I was going to be an astronaut. I was convinced. And, obviously I didn't become an astronaut. And I often wonder about that a little bit because I think maybe there were some self-limiting beliefs that got me derailed off of that at some point. But I have retained my space geek status my entire life. And to have the artwork reflective of such a little passion of mine that really not many people know about. Most people in my life don't realize how much of a space geek I am. I actually went to one of the shuttle launches, gosh, probably 15 years ago down in, I sat on the beach in Titusville, Florida, watching it across the water. And I literally was crying because I thought this is a bucket list moment for me to be here and watch this launch. And so to be able to have this piece of art that I'm going to enjoy here in my home and then be able to share it with others, it just feels like such a full circle moment and a little nod to that little girl who's always loved space.
And how ironic in a way of realizing there were self-limiting beliefs and looking at a picture of space.
I know. I know.
And where you are right now.
Right.
There
Right.
is no ceiling in space.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And it's all science. I mean, I might not be in space, but I'm in science. So it's adjacent. It's in the same universe.
Exactly. So I know, Lisa, there's something that you tell your kids, and it has to do with entrepreneurship. And I think it's so brilliant. So why don't you tell us what is this amazing piece of information or this amazing advice that you give to your kids?
Thanks for asking me that, Lynn, because this is another epiphany moment for me after learning everything that I've learned in the last couple of years. I tell my kids, I've got two college age kids and one that's in high school. And I say to them, you can study anything you want in college. The world is your oyster, but no matter what, you must get a minor in entrepreneurship because there is nothing more powerful than being an entrepreneur in engineering wealth.
Engineering wealth. I love that also. That should be a coined phrase because we always talk about tax architecture, and now we've got engineering wealth. So there's some amazing things that are happening in our community. And I love talking with you because I learned so much from you. So, and then together, we learn so much together because we hash things out and support each other. And that's one of the most important things that I find as women. And it was something maybe it was a little harder to find when I was younger. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right circles. I'm not sure. But at this point in my life, to be surrounded by amazing women who 100% have my back and make me feel smart and encouraged, and on bad days encourage me, but then give me feedback when I need, that feedback that could be considered a critique of whatever I'm doing. It's been just a blessing from God. 100% is how I feel about finding a group of women. So if there's anything that I would recommend to every woman out there, search and search and search until you find the real ones.
I could not agree more. And I feel like, again, it was the universe put us in the right place, very sort of unlikely setting where we all just clicked and then continued to click and find ourselves in the same places, talking about the same things. And each of us is so different in terms of what our businesses are, but we have so many commonalities in this aspect of like being lifelong learners, this aspect of it's not too late, even though most of us are in midlife, to learn these things, to apply these things, and to never stop reaching, never stop growing, and to do that thing that maybe you only thought you might do, or maybe you thought about doing it 20 years ago, and then life happened, then you never got back to it.
And I've had through the years like accountability groups, but most of the time because we're in the same industry or we're doing the same thing. So we're holding each other accountable. And there's something really powerful about all of us being different. Like you said, all of us are doing different things. We're all in different industries, but we're holding each other accountable from the standpoint of, I say I'm going to do this and I'm coming back and either I didn't do it or I did, but we're just making steps forward regardless, with a little bit of procrastination sprinkled in there or life getting in the way. But the growth that you can find when you find a tribe that supports you like this is amazing.
Agreed.
When you get around the right people, the ceiling is not there and the sky is absolutely the limit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I was going to ask if somebody wanted to connect with you and talk about finance, investing, or your consulting company or space. How would they reach out?
Yes, I started a new YouTube channel called Awaken the Healing in You. And in this YouTube channel, what I'm going to be focusing on is different healing modalities in an immersive way, and different things where I will be in my YouTube series, we'll be reading about them, we'll be experiencing them, and then we'll be talking about them with individuals who are either experts in it or who are also on their own journey to heal themselves. So I'm really excited about this passion project of mine, to see where it goes.
I'm excited for you to get out of your comfort zone and do what your heart is telling you to do. So I'm proud of you. If somebody wanted to reach out to you personally, would they do it through YouTube, or do you have another preferred method to reach out to you?
They can visit my website, linspireconsulting.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under Lisa Schwartz.
Lisa, thank you so much for meeting with me today. And I just get so excited. And I know during some of this conversation, I was just like, yes. So that's the energy you and I give each other back and forth for sure. A lot.
We do. I love our conversations. I love being in your presence.
Me too. So thank you so much for joining us. If you guys want to reach out to Lisa, she has a wealth of knowledge on so many levels, and she can be your greatest cheerleader. So if you're looking to explore different options in healing, or talk with somebody who's done it and come from corporate into the entrepreneurship world, she's an amazing person to talk with. And if you're looking to invest in your first piece of art and you want to say, what? There's another thing Lisa can talk about. So until next time, a wise woman will prosper. So go ahead, buy the field, plant the vineyard, and watch it multiply.